Romans chapter 5. Okay, we're in Romans chapter 5. So in Romans, we are at the exposition of the thesis. If you remember, this is a specific kind of logical argument that we're reading in Romans. So Paul is saying this out loud to a person who's a scribe. And the scribe is writing down everything that he says. And so he's given it, it's one of those kind of logical arguments that would have been given when he spent those 3 years in Ephesus, and he was at the Tyrannus Colosseum, or big speaking area, whatever that was. This is the kind of speech that he would have delivered. It has a specific structure that they would have recognized. Like we recognize, don't we recognize the introduction, the body, and the conclusion? That's like what in a sermon, they've got either 3, maybe 5 points, usually 3 points, right? We have certain ways of speaking that have a structure that we're used to that's common, and that's the way it is for this. It's like a common structure. And so for us, though, we're not used to hearing this like this. And so for us, it's a little awkward, so I keep reminding you of the structure. Over underneath the lights back there are some little papers that have the whole chapter of Romans and the actual structure of this logical diatribe. So if you want to look at it, it's there. I actually went in and wrote it in my Bible because for some reason it really helps me to kind of see the structure of it to understand it better. So we have a really cool little thing that's going to happen here. Remember when we were reading in Corinthians, there were a couple times when there were quotes, and how we pointed out that that's because that's what they were saying Paul said, and they'd say the quotes, and then Paul kind of gives the rest of the story because they were kind of misinterpreting or misapplying. So I think those kind of structures are interesting. They make it much more clear when you're looking at it. We have this kind of interesting parenthetical statement that's going to come up in chapter 5. So I'm kind of excited to get to that. So we're in Romans chapter 5. At chapter 5, this is the exposition of the thesis. So he's going to say the thesis in a really complete statement here in the first part of chapter 5. So this should be nothing new. It's the same thing, only restated. Chapter 5. Therefore, since we have been justified through faith, we have peace. Okay, what gives us peace? Justified by faith. Okay, what do you lose your peace over? Troubles. Okay, let's apply it to troubles. Because we are justified by faith, through faith, we have peace. What about in times of trouble? How does our justification by faith help us in times of trouble?
Trust in the Lord, and He'll bring you through them.
We have the faith that He's going to do what He says. He's going to be with us.
We believe. The faith, we trust in Him. Today there was, I think it was on the screen, the thing about the creator of the universe.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If we really believe God is who He is, it really helps us to be able to have trust in our little problems that we have, right? Have faith. And why does justification by faith ease our troubles? I know God isn't going to help me because I did have a piece of pumpkin pie and at least 2 large scoops of ice cream.
You don't work for it. You're just like your faith.
Is Vern right?
You're forgiven.
Is it okay?
You don't have anything to do with what you did.
You mean God's going to help me through my hard times even if I have a piece of pumpkin pie with ice cream on it?
3 times. 3 times.
3 times even, right? Right? Isn't that what we do to ourselves? We like the old, what they used to talk about, the monks that would flail themselves and walk through the streets beating themselves because they were such sinners. Don't we do that?
We beat ourselves up all the time.
We beat ourselves up. And if we're tired of beating up ourselves, then what do?
Beat up other
We look with a critical eye at everybody around us, don't we?
Get to the closest one.
Closest one, usually. Sometimes the people we love the most are the ones we give the most anxiety to, right? So, fortunately, God has justified us through our faith.